In the last few days of the California 2024 election, a lot of left-wing groups are out there harvesting ballots. My message to conservatives, you got to do the same. Coming up, I'll tell you how, as a common sense Californian, you can legally harvest ballots and help tip the scales in a lot of close races in your area. I'm Carl DeMaio, chairman of Reform California, and I will just put on the table right at the outset, I don't think ballot harvesting should be allowed. I don't think it should be legal. I don't like the practice. But since that is the law here in the state of California, it would be foolish for common sense Californians and conservatives to simply skip the practice altogether. Because the far left and Democrat politicians, they've got a ballot harvesting machine largely funded with your tax dollars, by the way, to turn out a lot of dubious votes in this election. We only have a matter of days left in the November 2024 election here in California. And there's a lot on the line for us to fight for and win. And that's why my message to conservatives, California common sense voters, you need to go out and harvest ballots. It is crucial for the future of our state, because the other side's doing it. In this episode, I'm going to walk you through what is ballot harvesting, what are the rules and what's the law pertaining to ballot harvesting, and how you can effectively do it. It's a lot easier than you think. First, what is ballot harvesting? It is the practice, the dubious practice of allowing strangers to go out and harvest or collect or take people's ballots and return them on their behalf. Prior to ballot harvesting laws being passed in California, under California state law, the only person that could return someone else's ballot is someone who is a blood relative, a spouse, someone with power of attorney. Strangers cannot collect and take and then return someone else's ballot. It has to be done by the individual themselves. But in 2016, California Democrat politicians passed a law legalizing ballot harvesting. Now, any stranger can go out and collect ballots. The reason why we are concerned about this practice, particularly in California, is that California politicians have intentionally kept outdated voter rolls. They've gone to motor voter, which has resulted in numerous duplicates being put on our voter rolls, because people go into the DMV to just renew their license. And then it's very confusing because it says, do you want to register to vote? And people are like, well, I'm already registered. If I say no, does it unregister me? So a lot of people have been duplicate registrations in the system. So they get two ballots. On top of that, the state of California doesn't do citizenship reviews. They also do not take people off the rolls when they move to other states, because they're not checking the database nationally for people who've left the state and registered. And you do know millions of people are fleeing this god-awful state because they can't live here anymore. So there's millions of people who've left the state, and a lot of them are still registered to vote. That creates the problem, intentional problem, I believe, by the politicians, of orphan ballots, because they're mailing out ballots using an outdated list. That means that when when a ballot goes out to someone who's no longer here, or a duplicate ballot goes out, that means that there's a bunch of orphan ballots that are just floating out there with no custody, no one to take ownership of them. So when ballot harvesters come and knock on doors, or what is more likely happening is they go to apartment buildings and they find a bunch of ballots sitting on the floor of the apartment mailroom. Because when someone gets someone else's ballot in their box, they're like, oh my goodness, this isn't mine. It's for someone else. Let me just leave it here in case it went to the wrong box. We also know that postal clerks can confirm, and they talk about this openly, hundreds of ballots per postal route in the state of California that are basically handed back over to the postal delivery folks by residents who say, this person hasn't lived here in years. But they keep getting ballots, because the Democrats want to have a loosey-goosey system with a lot of orphan ballots floating around, because they want to harvest ballots. Now, the media, liberal media, is trying to normalize this practice. Here's a report. What is ballot gathering? See, they don't use the term harvesting because they think harvesting, oh, that's a naughty term. That makes it seem bad. Well, it is bad. You're harvesting, like harvesting organs, harvesting ballots. And yes, it is a controversial practice. The Transparency Foundation did a study of left-wing organizations getting taxpayer money. And the study, and it's up here on the screen for you to see, and you can get the full study at thetransparencyfoundation.org, thetransparencyfoundation.org. The study shows that left-wing organizations are getting millions of dollars statewide in ballot harvesting funds. And they are using these organizations to go into predominantly Democrat organizations or Democrat communities. The Democrat communities are identified using the voter guide or the voter list. And then they put out these grants to organizations saying that, well, what we're trying to do is boost turnout of underrepresented populations. And so look at this one. First, they boost the census in Democrat-leaning areas with taxpayer funds. They engaged in taxpayer-funded grants for redistricting. And what they've done is they've gone out and given the same grants to organizations to go out and harvest ballots during the election season. I encourage you to go to that website, thetransparencyfoundation.org, thetransparencyfoundation.org, and you will find those contracts and grants given to these organizations that go out and emphasize their ballot harvesting success when they're touting all the work that they're doing. Well, a lot of that is going out in the form of these harvesting efforts. So here is Engage San Diego's website. Their statement says, increase voter participation in historically and systemically excluded communities in San Diego. What that means is they go out and they harvest those ballots. And take a look at this. They've got a variety of organizations that are as part of an overall integrated network to approach voters and contact voters and harvest those ballots. Again, funded by your taxpayer money. Now, you might say, let's ban the practice. I agree, ban the practice. But the bigger thing is, while it's legal, common sense Californians and conservatives need to go out and harvest ballots on their own. I don't want you to go to an apartment building or hit up a postal clerk for some discarded orphan ballot. That's illegal. It's nefarious. Don't engage in the bad practices that the left engages in. But here are some tips on how you can legally harvest ballots. First, in order to harvest someone's ballot, and I'll explain how you can easily do that in a moment. If they give you their ballot, you must make them sign the outside of the envelope, and they must vote. They must be the one filling in the bubbles on the ballot itself. You cannot do that for them. They can't give you a blank ballot and you vote on their behalf. That's illegal. Have them vote, have them slide it in the envelope, seal the envelope, sign the outside of the envelope as the voter, sign and date. Then as the harvester, there will be a separate box on the outside of that envelope for you to put your name on the outside of the envelope as the harvester, the person taking the ballot, collecting the ballot, and returning the ballot. Print your name and sign it. Okay? Don't sign where the voter is supposed to sign. That's for them. You sign as a harvester and then dutifully return the ballot for that voter. That's the legal mechanics on how to legally harvest a ballot. What's the best way to get people to vote in this election? My view is turnout. Turnout is everything. So if you want to help us boost turnout by harvesting ballots, the best way to do that is to share our Reform California Plain English Voter Guide. You can get that at electionguidecalifornia.org, electionguidecalifornia.org, and we have a voter guide for every region of the state. You might say, well, what does that have to do with harvesting ballots? We know based on our data that the number one reason why voters don't vote in an election is they are intimidated by the ballot. They see all these ballot measures and they're afraid of voting for the wrong thing. They know that the titles are deceptive and misleading. And so one way for you to break the barrier between the voter and casting a ballot and boost turnout amongst common sense Californians is to make it easy. Give them the plain English voter guide from Reform California. This is the page it's posted on. Take a look here. We have a statewide guide, and then we have all the regional guides. And we don't just give the plain English description on all of the ballot measures on the ballot. We also flag 470 hidden tax hikes on the ballot so that they can vote against the tax hikes. And we endorse common sense reform-minded candidates from everything from top of the ticket all the way down to water board, school board, and judge races. Check it out at electionguidecalifornia.org. Also, we want to make voting fun. So the voter guide makes it easier. One way for you to make it possible for people to vote that ordinarily wouldn't is invite them to your house for barbecue, beer, and ballots. At Reform California, we have a series of Reform California sponsored and organized barbecue, beer, and ballot events. And here are just some of them coming up. Corona and Riverside. We're in San Diego County. We're in Orange County. Across the entire set of target districts, we are out there doing barbecue, beer, and ballot events because people like to come and grab free beer and barbecue, and then we walk them through the plain English voter guide. We also have 2 online briefings on the plain English voter guide on Zoom at the end of the month on October 31st and November 1st that they can sign up for. And, they can sit at home with their own glass of wine and go through their ballot while I'm walking through on the Zoom presentation. So making these events available to voters. You can help invite people to these events. Go to reformcalifornia.org, click under events, and invite all your friends and family to these upcoming events or host one of the events yourself. I'm telling you, having a ballot party really does boost turnout. It makes it a social activity. It also makes it an appointment activity. If you would like, we will give you a list of voters in your neighborhood that are low propensity voters, but are likely to agree with our conservative point of view on politics. And we will give you that list so that you can drive to their home, knock on their door, share the voter guide, and encourage them to vote. A lot of people aren't voting in this election because they've given up hope. They think that they're behind a dark blue wall and that their vote doesn't matter in California. Nothing could be further than the truth. By giving them the voter guide, you make it easy, but by reminding them that the House of Representatives majority is on the line in California, that we have important school board races and judge races and city council races, and of course, those ballot measures, saving Prop 13, blocking the tax hikes, passing Prop 36 to support police and the crime wave. All of those things have a real and lasting impact on them, and we can win them. Their vote absolutely matters. So a lot of what we have to do to harvest ballots is not just give them the voter guide to make it easy, but give them hope. Let them know that they matter in this election. They need to hear that from you. That's our version of ballot harvesting in California. And at Reform California, we are doing an amazing job boosting turnout. Here's some of the pictures from some of these events. I posted some of the pictures online at my Twitter account, at Carl DeMaio. Here's some pictures from some of the events. Look at those full rooms. Absolutely jam-packed. Here's a little clip of what I told people yesterday at the event. Listen to this.
We're going to save ourselves.
We're going to save ourselves.
And I need you to have the hope and the confidence and the faith that that is actually going to happen. Because if we all start doing that, I tell you right now, they stay up late at night worrying that this is going to happen. Newsom, the Democrats, they are sitting there saying, man, we've really blanked up this state. Hopefully they don't wake up and notice. Hopefully they don't start working together and talking amongst themselves. Because right now, the media is telling everyone that the oil companies are responsible for the gas prices. And it's your utility company that's gouging you. And climate change caused your fire insurance to be canceled. BS! And as more people start sharing the truth and waking up, that's what they're terrified about. So that's what our job is. Send me to Sacramento. I will fight for you every day. And it will be so entertaining to watch the turmoil that they have to...
Okay, so that is the message that I convey when we have these barbecue, beer, and ballot events. That's the message I convey, so that people know that yes, there is hope in this state. But look at those We have promos for all the events that we have. But I'm telling you, we have massive turnouts at these events. Young folks, old folks, everyone in between. And it's truly amazing. Here's one from Orange County, big social hall. So we're doing events every single day, several events on some days throughout the state of California. And I get up and I walk through the voter guide. You can certainly walk through our voter guide easily. It's plain English. But this is how we're going to do ballot harvesting as common sense Californians and conservatives. It's up to you. You can actually persuade someone to vote by giving them the voter guide at electionguidecalifornia.org, hosting a little meet and greet at your home for 10 people. Look, if you can get 5 to 10 people to show up and vote the right way and vote when ordinarily they might not, you're going to tip the scales of this election in so many ways. So please activate. Don't be passive in the next several days that we've got left in this campaign. Get out there and harvest. We don't like the practice of ballot harvesting, but by golly, we're going to do it because it's legal, and the other side's doing it by nefarious means. We got a state to save here. Until next time, Carl DeMaio, Chairman of Reform California. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this episode. But before you click away, please subscribe to this channel and click that notification button so you get updated when we post new episodes. Plus, like this video and share it with your friends so that we can help spread our message across the state. Reform California with Carl DeMaio is paid for by Carl DeMaio for State Assembly.